What do we do with those damn shotgunners? If you play on console, I'm sure you've had the exact same thought. But rather than complain about cheesy auto-aim spammers, we decided to come up with a solution. And as I'm sure you've already guessed by now, that solution is Lone Star. Couple disclaimers real quick. First of all, this is not a solo build, but it works great with a coordinated group and preferably one with a healer. If your group can buy you a little time and give you some space, you'll be able to do more sustained damage than any other gear set in the game. And the best part is you can do that at some range. Now I won't spend a whole lot of time on the build. It's really similar to Marco's Lone Star build, which I've linked to down below. There's a couple major differences though. One thing is if you're on console, you definitely want to use steady hands, which gives you a ton of accuracy and stability when you hop into cover, and it'll allow you to hit headshots, especially when you couple that with accurate on the MG5. I'll put the build up on the screen real quick so you can screenshot it. Basically we're going health and EDR on the chest piece, critical hit chance on the mask, health on knee pads, health on backpack, critical hit chance, critical hit damage, and LMG damage on the gloves, and of course critical hit chance on the holster. All of our gear mods are critical hit chance mods, and for performance mods we're running pulse critical hit chance. Ideally you want to be around 75 to 8,000 firearms and the rest in the stamina. Talents are critical save, combat medic, steady hands, and precision. And of course our skills are the immunizer box and the concealed pulse. Again, for weapons we're running Big Al and an MG5. The MG5 has accurate, deadly, vicious, and Big Al has vicious and deadly. As far as the gun mods, it's just your typical critical hit damage mods. You can actually put headshot damage on the MG5 even on console. I know that sounds strange, but again, with steady hands and accurate on the gun, you'll be able to land headshots a lot easier than you think, even at really long ranges, which again is what makes this build so good. And the only part of the build that I've kind of gone back and forth on, for Big Al, sometimes I use an extended mag, and sometimes I use the rate of fire mag. For the MG5, I definitely think the rate of fire mag is the way to go, because obviously you want to proc your Lone Star as much as possible, so having a big magazine is going to limit your ability to do that. But the difference with Big Al is it's got that third talent cover shooter, which allows you to build up to 50% extra damage when you're shooting from cover. So a lot of times I found it made sense to actually have the extended magazine and keep that bonus up a little bit longer. Okay, so that's pretty much it on the build. Now we just need to look at how to effectively use this build and even how to use it against those auto-aim, spamming, shotgun striker, Cronus Max. You know what I'm talking about. So with this build, you're basically giving up some survivability for extremely high DPS even at range. And in a lot of ways, I think you need to play it similar to how you would play Deadeye. You kind of wait in the back, allow your teammates to go up front, take some damage, and you just rain holy hell on top of their heads. Now the big difference between Lone Star and Deadeye, and I think these are pretty key points, is that Lone Star is not completely ineffective in close range like Deadeye is. And secondly, it's more of a sustained damage than a burst damage like Deadeye is. If you've ever played Deadeye, what you notice a lot of times is you shoot somebody and they take a ton of damage, but then from that point forward they know that they're being shot at by a Deadeye guy and they get out of the way. You have a real hard time finding them again to get those shots. With Lone Star, you're hitting people with a high rate of fire but not nearly as much per bullet damage, and I think that actually ends up being an advantage because a lot of players don't realize what it is taking their health down so quick until they're already dead. And with Lone Star, you can burst people down so quick that they can't even use a med kit sometimes. Again, it's ideal if you have a healer in the squad, but really you just want to play slightly behind the rest of your team. And you can play without a healer, you don't want to be up front. You don't want to be the first guy that everybody focuses on because you're not going to last that long. Now one of the things that makes this build so much fun is that you can just spray and pray. It's not like Striker where you have to worry about missing shots and losing your stacks. It's not like Predator where you have to worry about focusing on one guy for 10 shots, and it's not like Deadeye where you have to worry about the long bolt action rifle or the SVD reload. You can just let it rip. But again, it's going to take a little bit of coordination from your team because you really need to find those good spots where you can watch over your team, but also make sure they don't get too far in front of you. If you feel like your team's got the advantage, don't be afraid to jump down there and mix it up a little bit. You might not have the best survivability, but you do a ton of damage. Anyway, give it a shot and let me know what you think. If nothing else, it's a really fun build. Thanks for watching, you beautiful sons of bitches. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. Go on, get it.